Welcome to r/Best of Redditor updates, where OP's husband insists on speaking in a made-up language, including words like bagayaya and scuppers. Our next Reddit post comes from r/Am I the Butthole. My other half has always been a bit goofy, giving his own names to things and doing impressions. About 18 months ago, this started to increase a lot. It's now a constant presence in our lives, and I'm finding it difficult to live with. For example, he has his own name for most retail outlets, professionals, and organizations. For example, he calls Walgreens Eat Your Greens, and he calls Barnes & Noble Sharts and Gobbles. He has about 30 to 40 everyday words that he insists on using in place of normal ones. Scuppers instead of yes. And yeah, you're apparently supposed to pronounce it that way. Bing, meaning no. And bagayaya means good night. He constantly does weird sound impersonations, not like celebrities or characters, but a single noise that's a made-up sound or something childish like a fart from a children's TV show. He speaks random words like garbage or douchebag while burping or farting. He's made up names for all our friends, which he uses sometimes even under his breath when we're out with them. Pam and Will is Pig and Wig. I've just had enough. We got into bed the other night and I said goodnight and he said bagayaya in the high-pitched voice he always does it in. I snapped and asked why he couldn't just speak to me normally, and he just laughed and came right up to my face and did it again. His whistling is constant. He speaks to our kid in this stupid language, and I'm worried it's going to confuse normal language development because he changes the words so often. Our toddler could be about to hurt themselves, and instead of saying no or come here, he'll just say some ridiculous made-up word or sound and then get annoyed when our kid doesn't know what he wants. He's normal in other respects. He works in finance and is totally professional around his colleagues, but different at home. I told him it needs to stop. I don't mind it occasionally or for fun, but it's all the time and it's wearing me down. He got upset and said that I couldn't take a joke and that I'm not fun anymore. It's true that I've become more irritable and noise-averse since we had kids, but I'm so worn out and over it, and I just want him to relate to me like an adult. Then, 8 months later, OP posted an update. My husband eventually agreed to get checked out. He was confirmed for being neurotypical and no other health concerns. We were referred for marriage counseling, and he wouldn't go. I ended it, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. Honestly, this post was just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm exhausted but glad to be out. He ended up really insulting our close friends, and it all spiraled into complete hellfire. Yo, this is the tip of the iceberg? OP, please tell me there's more content on your page. Okay, there isn't, which sucks. So, it sounds like her husband is just kinda bonkers a little bit. He literally chose bagayaya over his own wife and child. Cool. You know what the really frustrating thing is? For the rest of OP's life, it's very difficult, almost impossible for her to convey this in a very normal way in a conversation whenever someone asks, why'd you leave your husband? She has to say, well, he kept saying Baba Yaga instead of good night, which makes OP seem like the unreasonable one. Our next Reddit post is from r/Am I the Butthole. Will I be the butthole if I disowned my parents after my mom refused to take care of me after I gave birth? So I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I'm 30 weeks pregnant with my first child, and I'm about to move to another state. And mom has this thing where she takes care of my siblings when they give birth until they recover. She's done it for my older sister and my brother's wife, so I thought that she would do the same thing with me, but a week ago, she told me that she couldn't because it's too far away. We got into a fight about the whole thing, and I told her to get out of my house, and now we're not talking. Before you judge me and say that my mom isn't obligated to take care of me, I will tell you that it isn't about mom taking care of me. It was never about that. I'm that one child in the family who nobody really cares about. My parents always claim they love and treat us all equally, but man, it is obvious that they love me a little bit less than the others. I always thought that maybe I'm adopted and that's why they don't care about me that much. Well, I'm wrong because I'm 100% theirs. It's always about how my siblings are doing or how mom and dad are suffering, but it's never about me. It was never about me from the beginning. I'm rarely celebrated, even if it's supposed to be my day. My birthdays, they rarely celebrated because mom and dad forgot, or they just threw the party in the house and called it a birthday. high school graduation party? Nope. My parents already wasted a lot of money for my big brother's college graduation party, so they can't do that. But they'll be sure to make it up to me. Do you think that ever happened? I'll give you a minute or two. If you guessed no, then congrats! You guessed right! Yay! They shared the wedding expenses of my siblings' wedding, but since my husband came from a good family, they don't have to share wedding expenses. Their words, not mine. I've always been the therapist who listens to my mom and dad's rough day, or the one who needs to help mom because my older siblings have a lot of schoolwork to do, or because my younger siblings are too young to do that kind of work. They always tell me that I'm a good daughter, but I'm never the one they brag about to their friends. I did everything in my power to make them proud, but my achievements will always be below my siblings. I've tried to talk to them about how I feel multiple times before, but the only thing I get is a hard scolding about how I was getting spoiled. I hated my life until I got out of that house, but I never had the courage to let go of them, thinking that they would change. Well, my mom just proved me wrong. Mind you, my older sister lives a whole ocean away from us, but mom decided that taking a 10-hour flight to another continent twice wasn't hard at all. But all of a sudden, taking a 4-hour ride to my home was too much, especially when I'm in a place where I don't know anyone except my husband. I'm so effing tired of them putting everyone else above me. So I'll make things right between us until I leave because I don't want to end things on a bad note. And when I get to my new house, I'll just cut all contact between us. I don't think I have the energy to do all this stuff anymore. And besides, I have my lovely husband with me, so I'll be alright and build myself a new family where I'm truly appreciated and loved for who I am. Also, OP clarifies that she is the third of 5 children. Her younger siblings are twins. Then, 2.5 months later, OP posted an update. A lot has happened since my last post. I tried to call my parents, but they blocked me and I couldn't reach them, but I was determined on getting the closure that the younger version of me wanted. So I called my older brother and I asked him if we could meet up and talk about the situation. He told me that he won't meet up with me after what I've done to our mother, and he berated me saying that I was an ungrateful person and that mom is in a lot of stress and pain because of me. I told him that it wasn't fair for him to just assume that I was the villain and that he couldn't understand my point of view because they didn't treat him like they treated me my whole life. He knew they treated me like their personal chef, maid, and therapist for years. But they couldn't even give me the love and attention that I wanted for once in my whole life. He basically screamed at me through the phone that I was a piece of trash for saying that, and that mom and dad treated us all equally, but I was just a damned narcissist who can't think about anyone but myself. I tried to talk, but my emotions got the better of me, and I started breaking down on the phone, and he hung up on me. I even started asking myself if I really was the narcissist that my family seemed to think of me. But my husband came to the rescue and helped me through all of this. But my doubt that maybe I was in the wrong still lingered in my head. I guess my brother told my parents that I called him because Dad called about 2 days after that and asked me to meet up at their house. I was about to say no, but I couldn't because his voice was filled with remorse, so I thought that maybe, just maybe, we could get past the whole thing, and I could drop the thought of cutting contact even if my mom doesn't want to help out. After like 3 days of talking to my dad, me and my husband went to their house to talk. I thought that it was going to be me, my husband, and my parents talking, but they invited my brother and his wife. As soon as we sat down, my dad started talking about how disappointed he was with me and that things shouldn't have led to this. I told him he was right. Things shouldn't have escalated to be where they are now. But I assumed that since mom helped take care of my sister and my brother's wife, she would do the same for me. But she just favored everyone else above me, and it was frustrating. I told them about how I felt for the past years, and I told them everything that I said to you guys. But all of them acted like they didn't care, which honestly hurt like hell. I knew at that moment that I didn't mean anything to them, so why was I fighting to be a part of a family that didn't want me? My husband was going to speak, but I told him not to. Everyone gave their opinions about it, basically blaming me, and then Dad asked me if I wanted to say anything to Mom. I told her I was sorry because I didn't want any type of bad blood between us before I closed this chapter and move on with my life. but she didn't say anything back, and Dad said that we needed some time cooling off and setting some boundaries, and I guess that was it between us. In the next 2 weeks, we were packing and leaving the state. I didn't tell anyone where my new house will be. Only once I got there and settled down did I write a long message about everything they did and how I felt. And at the end of the message, I told them I was completely cutting contact with my parents and older brother. I changed my phone number and blocked all my family from social media. And you know what? My life has never been this peaceful in a long time. I'm happy about everything, and my baby will arrive any day now. It's honestly stressing, but I love it so much. We hired a helper around the house because why not? Now my day consists of sleep, take a walk, eat some more, have back and hip pains, and repeat, which honestly isn't that bad. A lot of the stories I read on these subreddits make me feel that some parents will have, 4 or 5 kids, and it seems like the parents just sit down and decide, hey, let's just decide to not love the second child, for example, and make our second child the slave, the household slave that does all the chores and watches all the kids. And I guess to make ourselves feel better, we emotionally distance ourselves from that kid so that we don't feel guilty. And that's our one slave kid, because OP's story isn't super unique. Unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of families that do this, which sucks. This story is the perfect example of the phrase, all kids deserve to have parents, but not all parents deserve to have kids. Our next Reddit post is from r/relationships. My boyfriend Alex and I have been together for 2 years, living together for less than 6 months. I would say that we have a fairly average relationship. We make each other really happy most of the time, but we do have our ups and downs. I'm honestly so conflicted in writing this post because I feel a little insane even thinking about the possibility of him trying to hurt me intentionally. We've been fighting a lot lately because of conflicting work schedules. I'm currently in my intern year of residency doing a night float month, so I'm at work from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. roughly. He works during the daytime, regular hours as a computer science engineer, and we haven't spent a lot of quality time together in several weeks because of the lack of overlap. I'm going to work just as he's getting home and vice versa. I've never had any issues with physical abuse from him. He's raised his voice at me on more than one occasion, but he's always apologized, and it's been during very stressful times in our lives. His dad passed away last year, and our dog was killed in an accident on the street shortly thereafter. Recently, though, things have been happening in our apartment that makes me feel a little crazy. I've been getting hurt a lot, and Alex keeps reprimanding me that I need to be more careful and not be so clumsy. But honestly, it feels like it's not me, but that things are being done or moved or placed. About 3 days ago, I came home from work and was preparing something to eat in the kitchen, right after he left for work and I was getting ready to sleep. I opened up one of our kitchen cupboards, and the heavy door flew off one of the hinges and smacked me in the head. I have a huge goose egg and a giant bruise near my hairline, enough that several coworkers have asked me about what happened. I honestly think that I had a very mild concussion from it, based on my symptoms this week. But here's the thing. As I tried to put the door back together, I couldn't find the hinge or the 3 screws anywhere afterward. They should have been on the floor or the counter, and they weren't. This morning, when I got home from work and I was getting ready to go to bed, I opened up Alex's underwear drawer to get a pair of socks to wear to bed. And there were the screws, the hinge, and the screwdriver. Last week, I got up in the middle of my sleep schedule to use the bathroom, and I slammed my shin into the edge of our bed. There's always enough room for me to shimmy by, but later on, when I looked at the bed and my leg, there were carpet marks like the bed had been shifted about 1 foot towards the wall, making my space smaller. I honestly feel insane even thinking about bringing this up with him, but I don't know what to do. Then, 9 days later, OP posted an update. 2 days after I posted, our shower head came loose and sprung off at me and smacked me in the back of the head. And due to the water pressure, I needed 8 stitches to close the wound. I texted my boyfriend about what happened and that I needed to go to the hospital for stitches. And he was way too nonchalant. He asked if I had bumped it or anything to cause it coming off. I'd had enough at that point. I wasn't going to ask him about the things that were happening. I was just going to move out and move on before I ended up dead. I made a plan that on Thursday, I would have a friend come over as soon as Alex left the apartment to help me pack my things and leave. I was worried about any potential cameras he may have hidden, so I flipped the breaker and turned off the power in our apartment. About 3 hours into packing up, Alex came home. In the 6 months that we've lived together, he has never once come home for lunch, so there must have been a camera planted somewhere with an external power source. He doesn't even pretend to waltz through the door. He bursts open and gets furious and asks what the hell we're doing. Not sad, not confused, straight up angry. That was the only sign I needed. All I said was, I know about the cabinet and the bed and the dresser, you watching me, and my jewelry, and it's done. We're done. He responded with the standard, "You're effing insane, you're crazy, this is insane," etc. This is the point where I'm thinking, am I going to end up on a Dateline NBC episode? I yelled to my friend in the next room that she needed to call the police to come supervise while we finished packing. Alex decided to take this moment to call the cops and claim that I was insane and stealing things from our apartment. 2 uniformed officers rolled up within what seemed like only a minute and came upstairs. I explained that I wasn't moving out, and there was abuse. I wasn't interested in pressing charges, but they needed to supervise and file a report for documentation. I ended up finishing packing and then spending nearly an hour down at the police station hashing everything out with the officer who arrived first. I took personal leave from work for the second half of last week, and tomorrow is my first day back. I'm staying with a friend right now until I move in with another resident near our hospital in about 2 weeks. Overall, I'm really relieved to be out of the situation, but I'm generally still pretty afraid of Alex and anything he might try to do in the future. Out of an abundance of caution, I took both my iPhone, iPad, and laptop to the Apple Store and had them do hard resets and wipes just in case he'd planted anything. I'm not sure how I should be feeling right now, but I'm just gonna say that for anyone out there questioning whether your situation is abusive or not, go with your gut and trust your friends and family. Yo, OP is so smart. Flipping the breaker and wiping your devices afterwards, you can tell OP is a doctor. She's a real smarty pants. Also, I tried to look through OP's history to see if there was any information about the jewelry because she breezed over that detail, but unfortunately there's no information. So we just have to assume that the boyfriend was even crazier than this post leads us to believe. That was r/Bestof Redditor updates, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.